I'll see people online and they're like, you can't just get a job because you have a certain certification, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, having the certification in the GovTech space makes you qualified for specific roles, right? So, you already know DOD 8570.
Mm-hmm.
If you have these certifications that are listed, you are at least qualified to work these roles, right? Now, if you're working in a separate industry that does not have these standards, of course, like certifications aren't going to guarantee you anything. But even in GovTech, it's not just the certification. You get the certification, you apply to jobs, you network, right? You still have to put in the work, right? The only people who have it like really like easy, cakewalk, guaranteed, you already got a clearance, then you get a security plus. I mean, you guarantee to get a job, easy.
I know some people. GovTech is a very small world.
Yeah,
so
it's tiny.
Anytime
Everybody, I always talk to people, bro. I'm out and about last night at a conference. They're like, "Oh yeah, you interview my homeboy." I'm like, "Who?" And they're like, "Oh, Rakis." I'm like, everybody know him. Like, and then people like when I interview David, they're like, "Oh, I work with David." Like that's how I know him.
World.
Yeah,
it's
people.
A very small
my
world.
dad calling me like, "Yeah, some guy I work with say that like he didn't know I was your dad." Like, so it's like everybody. It's a tiny world, so you gotta make sure you keep your skills up, your rep up, your name up. It's everything.
You got to. Anytime I see somebody come in from a different organization, whether they work for Homeland Security or just whatever government agency, they be like, "Oh, I see some familiar faces," and I be like, "Man, you gotta really be on your P's and Q's, because if you get that bad rep in GovTech, yeah, you might as well kiss them contracts goodbye."
Welcome back to A Day in My Tech Life. My name is Simone B, also known as Bees, and today we have a very special guest. This is Jay Howze. He is a senior threat engineer, and he is a OG in the GovTech game. He's literally been through it all. He's usually in the background, so I appreciate you for coming out, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the extension out, for real, because like I said, I'm in the shadows, so it feels good to be out now. So
yeah. So I wanna first go back, like, where are you from, and what made you want to get into tech in the first place?
Yeah, so I'm from Mobile, Alabama, but I spent a lot of time in South Carolina, so I claim them too. But I feel like I'm one of the ones that looked up, because I always wanted to do tech. I just didn't know in what capacity I wanted to do it. So in high school, I actually started off on the robotics side of things. And we was working with that, and I was like, this ain't really my thing. It had a little bit of programming in it, and like we talked about before, cybersecurity wasn't like a degree thing. It wasn't like spoken like that. It was like information assurance and systems engineering and stuff like that, but it wasn't cybersecurity. So I ended up going into computer science at the University of South Carolina and found out that I'm not good at programming. So I quit that expeditiously and joined the military, so I can get experience and also get the credentials and stuff at the cost of the government and not at my own. So,
yeah. So how was that? So you decided to go into the military. What branch did you go into?
I went Army. I tried to go Air Force, but I had some things on my record, so I ended up going Army, because they take everybody. They take everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went into the Army. I joined as a 25 Bravo, which is an IT specialist. They didn't have cybersecurity at the time. And as I was going through the pipeline, because really AIT is really just a boot camp. It's really just a fast-paced boot camp. I think you get your A plus in like 2 weeks, your security plus in like 2 weeks, and then your net plus in like 1 week or something like that. They even teach you on like server administration and CCNA and stuff like that. But as I was going through that, that's when they released the cyber security capacity for the military, 17 Charlie, and then they also had a 25 Delta. But I ended up still staying on the 25 Bravo path because I was already in it. Did everything from networking in the middle of the desert to give them Facebook and be able to talk on the phone and stuff on the battlefield. And then from there, I went special operations and ended up being more like Geek Squad for the Army. So I was working at a help desk, managing, I think I had like 3 soldiers and like 4 contractors, but I had a GS employee. So we worked hand in hand, and I basically answered to him also. Every green suit is going to answer to that GS person anytime. So Answered to him, cool guy, learned a lot there, and that's when I got my first exposure to cybersecurity. We had a cyber department, but they were more hands-off. They were more, I guess you would say, information assurance. So I didn't really get too much hands-on. So a lot of the stuff I had to learn was at my own expense, like building out a home lab and stuff like that, through schoolwork, coursework, and different certification programs that I took. And from there, I sort of got off of my path of being in IT because you do what Uncle Sam tells you, and he said I was going to be a drill sergeant. So I became a drill sergeant for 2 years. And during this time, though, this is my last 2 years in the military, and I had to make that transition out.
Yeah.
Well, being as a drill sergeant, you don't have too much time. So that's when WGU came into play, where I can go at my own pace and everything. And I went to WGU full time while I was drill sergeant. And I completed my master's in a couple of months. And then once I transitioned out, I went straight into contracting.
Okay. All right, so that's dope. So when you went from being in the military, they had you being a drill sergeant, to get your first contract, you got a contract with one of the government contracting companies. What role did you get, and like how much did they pay you?
So the role, it's funny, the contracting positions, they'll have a broad title, but sometimes when you get to the position, you're probably doing something totally different.
Right.
So I was signed as a cybersecurity associate, a senior cybersecurity associate, and then I became more of a consultant, and it switched again into more so like an engineering role.
Yeah.
So I joined first just providing my expertise in certain areas, which is IR and threat detection and stuff like that. So they would pose these different risks and situations, and I would just give my information and my input on how we would fix this, how we would go about it. And then we started implementing a new XDR system into the organization, and now I'm administering that, helping them deploy it to the enterprise level. Also learning to the GUI on the inside, so I can actually be a security analyst on that portion too. So basically vertically integrated, being able to deploy it, engineer it, manage it, and use it as an analyst. So yeah, you get a lot of experience in those government contracts.
Yeah. No, you really do. But it's funny, like I talked about this with another person, Vic. He was a government contractor too. Like I think first I think he went to the military first, but then he went overseas.
Yeah. Vic as in Bagiff?
Yes.
Yeah. He was a contractor.
Yeah. So he went overseas, right? So we had an interview not too long ago, and he was telling me how like when he got back from overseas, right? He got into a role. He thought he was gonna be a cloud engineer. They had him doing like PM stuff.
Do something totally different.
So that's what people don't get. Like when people say, "Oh, I want to get into GovTech, I don't know how." I'm like, always try to go government contractor first, because they just have to get people in the roles, or they don't get paid. But you might not be doing what that job description said you're gonna do, which is another reason why I tell people, like, don't be scared. Like, you might get intimidated by a lot of these job descriptions. This might not be anywhere near the capacity of what you think you're gonna be doing.
Nothing like it. I know a lot of positions that I looked at, and then actually once I got into the position, typically the work is easier. They're not going to give you, if they're not going to put something on the job description and give you harder work that you can't do, because it puts their contract at jeopardy.
Yep.
So, and I like the point that you made, that they just have to put people in these seats. A lot of people will get hired straight off the fact that they have Security Plus.
Yep.
Because it's cheaper for them to give you security or have you come in with your clearance and Security Plus than them to have to sponsor your clearance and give you Security Plus. But even when you join these positions, they typically, if they sponsor the clearance, they give you that, and they give you everything you need to succeed.
Right.
It's literally given to you, and there's nothing that's hard about it. So
right. And that's the nice thing about this industry. Like, I don't know any other tech industry where they're literally like, they're gonna make sure that you succeed, because they have to make sure they perform for this contract, because they want to win another government contract. They don't want to do bad during their contract where their government customer is like, nah, you can't work with them because they don't hire good people, right? So they're gonna make sure that, okay, let's say you only have the Security Plus and they sponsor you for a clearance, they're gonna do on-the-job training. They're gonna have people like, hold your hand through it, make sure you understand everything before you come in and just mess up a bunch of stuff.
That's facts. And another thing about that is, anytime that they do put you in these positions, typically you can reach out to other people. You got a lot of, it's usually a team. You got people you can reach out to, and nobody's going to put these contracts at jeopardy when they hire you. And another thing, you have to have good rapport with the government person that you're working with.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of say-so whether you guys win that recompete.
Yep.
And that's a big thing. And if you hold certain credentials or different skill sets that's very concentrated in particular, you become a key member for these contracts. And even if they don't give you that work, just off your resume alone will get them that contract, and that makes you just as valuable. And usually these positions start off over six figures. My first offer was 110.
Wow.
110. I felt shorted.
Yeah.
But it was 110.
But it's good for the military. Like, and I tell military people this all the time. Like, active duty, if you're in the military, right, and you are transitioning out, you should be making either six figures or as close to six figures as possible, especially if you already have a clearance and if you are already doing technical work in the military, like, period.
My rule of thumb is if you got at least Security Plus and your clearance, you shouldn't take nothing lower than 95. And that's even questionable. I think I should bump that number up, but
because inflation,
a lot of these people, they be skimping on them contracts. Like I be seeing some of them contracts, I be like, now you want a tier 3 for what? And you gonna pay them that? Good luck finding somebody for that, but it happens. It happens.
It do. Like, sometimes people, they just want to get their foot in the door, right? So, because somebody he had worked with me, and he was in I think he was in the Army or I think Army or Marines or something like that. But he was just doing maintenance, right? He was just doing maintenance, but he had his clearance. So he ended up getting a Security Plus, and he was able to get a cybersecurity analyst job in Mississippi. So,
and that's good, because in the military we don't make much. I think as an E6, and I was a drill sergeant, that means I got extra pay, and I was married. That's even more pay on top of that.
Yeah,
I think I was making only like $2,400 every 2 weeks. And I was like, what am I gonna do with this? Every 2 weeks?
And that's an E6. Like a lot of people are between E3, E4.
Yeah, And so I think it's definitely a big jump, because out of that salary that I got as an E6, I probably made, I say, like 50 to 65,000. As soon as I got out of the military, it doubled.
Yeah,
it doubled. Off of Security Plus, because people swear Security Plus just isn't a thing. You just got to know what space you're in and know where it's valuable at. So Security Plus definitely holds value.
Yeah, and that's why I tell people all the time, like, I'll see people online and they're like, you can't just get a job because you have a certain certification, right? Well, I mean, having the certification in the GovTech space makes you qualified for specific roles, right? So, you already know, DOD 8570, if you have these certifications that are listed, you are at least qualified to work these roles, right? Now, if you're working in a separate industry that does not have these standards, of course, like, certifications aren't going to guarantee you anything. But even in GovTech, it's not just the certification. You get the certification, you apply to jobs, you network, right? You still have to put in the work, right? The only people who have it like really like easy, cakewalk, guaranteed, you already got a clearance, then you get a Security Plus. I mean, you guarantee to get a job, easy.
I know some people. GovTech is a very small world.
Yeah,
so
it's tiny.
Anytime
everybody, I always talk to people, bro. I'm out and about last night at a conference. They're like, "Oh yeah, you interview my homeboy." I'm like, "Who?" And they're like, "Oh, Rakis." I'm like, everybody know him. Like, and then people like when I interview David, they're like, "Oh, I work with David." Like, that's how I know him.
World.
Yeah,
it's
people.
A very small
my
world.
dad calling me like, "Yeah, some guy I work with say that like he didn't know I was your dad." Like, so it's like everybody. It's a tiny world, so you gotta make sure you keep your skills up, your rep up, your name up. It's everything.
You got to. Anytime I see somebody come in from a different organization, whether they work for Homeland Security or just whatever government agency, they be like, "Oh, I see some familiar faces," and I be like, "Man, you gotta really be on your P's and Q's, because if you get that bad rep in GovTech, you might as well kiss them contracts goodbye."
Facts. So with people trying to get into cybersecurity, like nowadays, right, in 2024, what type of skills do you think they need to focus on?
A lot of people will not like me for this, but I would say networking. Everything is based off that network first. You can't protect something that you don't understand. You don't have to know it at a high level. I know everybody gets intimidated by CCNA and things like that. I do hold CCNA, or it just expired, but it's not needed for what I do, even though I'm at a higher level. I'm not out here actually configuring routers and switches, so I don't really need to know that. But having that awareness makes me more valuable, and I suggest that for anybody. But definitely networking, and then you moving over to your security aspect. I really don't care too much for A+.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this on record. I'm gonna go on record and say I failed that exam 3 times. I failed A+ 3 times.
I'm not gonna lie to you. A+ is a hard test for people who, like, if you don't have, let's say you don't have experience, maybe you're not the best test taker. It's a 2-part test.
Yes.
It was free for you, but for other people that if you got to pay out of pocket, it is very expensive, right? So I feel like it's better to learn the information, do hands-on labs that are in A+, and that'll help you out more. But you can, learn those foundational skills and then move on to networking, then move on to, security plus, things like that.
I tell people all the time, just because you go study for an exam don't mean you have to take that exam. Just having the information, because if you strap for cash, you don't want to you don't want your money like that.
Yeah, you don't want to waste all your money. Yeah, that's why I'm on Twitter all the time saying, I'm like, why are people collecting certifications like they're Thanos? Because
they think it's gonna get them more money. But I tell people, certs are like a car. You gotta maintain them. So if you get all these certifications that don't pertain to your job, you're paying these fees for them. Get what you need, and that's more concentrated, so you can get that position that you want. People, I don't know. I think it's like a social media thing. I'm getting this cert, and everybody's just trying to one up each other.
Yeah, I'm like, I just be sitting back like, I don't know why you're all getting all these certifications. Is any job requiring you to have these certs? Is somebody that's in a position that's going to help you get a job telling you to get these certs, or you're all just getting them because you want to be on social media seen getting a bunch of certifications?
That's what it is.
That's what everybody's doing. I'm like, I don't have that many certifications because I didn't need them. I had the experience, right? So experience, the ranking of how I tell people is like, you have experience, then you get certs, then you have degrees. That's pretty much like the ranking of importance. Yeah, so if you have experience and you're doing what you want to do, you're doing everything you need to do, and if that certification, certifications are great, obviously, to continue to learn, continuous education, but to go out there and collect 10 different certifications,
it's not needed.
It's not needed.
It's not needed.
And then also, if a recruiter looks at your resume, you got all these certifications across all of these different disciplines, they're gonna look at you as a what do they call it, a paper professional, paper tech.
It's like I forgot who said it. I think it was Tyrone Wilson. He said the hiring manager cares more what you can do on the keyboard than what he see on paper, or what she sees on paper, and that's important. Like, if you ain't got the skills to validate your resume, you'll be out of there quicker than you get in. People talk about getting into tech. It's staying in tech. That's the most important thing. You can get in easy. I think getting in, especially in today's world, you can get into tech easy. It's staying in that gets people, because a lot of people are looking at the money and they don't have a passion for the job. And when they start getting burnt out, and they just like, and then that's when you start slacking. You know what I'm saying? You getting out work. Getting out work.
Facts. So what when it comes to networking and security, what type of home labs do you think people could do? Because I tell people you need to spend time doing labs, and what labs should I be doing? what do you recommend?
Day Cyberwalks.
Yeah.
He has a good lab posted on his YouTube. I tell people to go. I refer people to that, because the lab that I did really was some makeshift stuff back in the day. Yeah. But back in the day we didn't have these resources, so I was up in that. But Day Cyberwalks, he has a very, very great lab. It's geared towards security analyst type things, but you're getting the inner workings of different attacks. You're seeing the attack happening because you're doing it, but you're also defending against it. So you see the front and back end. So I think his lab is very, very well.
And it's on his YouTube? I'm going to make sure I put that in the description. Shout out to Day.
Day is good. He's like that. Outside of him, I'm one of those people, I'm a research junkie, so I'm just Googling what this lab or that lab. And then Twitter's my best friend, because that's how I do all my networking, and all the information to me hits Twitter before it hits everything else. Right. So if you link up with these people in these professions or in these areas that you want to do, you'll find your labs. It's different ones. It's just what caters to you and what. Some people have things you have to pay for. Some people have things you don't have to pay for.
Right.
So it's a variety of things, but just getting started, just getting your hands in it is what's going to get you that experience.
Yeah. And to you, like, what do you think people can do to stay consistent, right? Because like it's true. Like, most people are getting into tech because they want to make more money. So how can they stay consistent to make sure they're not in a position where they get a job and then they get laid off or something?
So it's this thing in the military where when you're working at a position, you're actually working a level above or 2 levels above. So I tell people to do that, because if you're at an entry level and say you cover your foundational stuff and you're working at that next level, the mid-level role already, once you get to the mid-level role, you're already good at the mid-level role because you've been doing this for a minute. So now you focus at the next level, and as you're working this, you're comfortable. You're not being weighed down because you're trying to learn this and learn the next thing. You already learned this, so you're just floating this and learning the next thing. And then of course you never want to be the smartest in the room. Me personally, I have a group of guys. They're in different parts of tech. You actually in a DO. DO. He's in it. JB. He's in it. Brandon. He's a sales engineer. So everybody does different things, and it gives me exposure to different things. So if I ever have issues, I go to them and I'm like, hey, do you know anything about this or something like that? So I would say definitely have a good group of people you can lean on, because you're not going to ever know everything in tech. It's just too big.
Right. Facts. No, that's definitely true. So could you explain to people, what is your day like as a threat engineer? Like, what's a typical day like for you?
So if I'm not helping on the queue, it's really tightening up the rules. We have to make sure that our rules aren't producing false positives for our analysts. And being that I have that analyst background, I know what analysts are looking for and what they don't want to see and what they need to see to help them triage and investigate and either escalate the case off or however they handle their business within their organization. So day to day, I'm working on the rules. I'm finding new threats that's out there that probably hasn't been exposed yet, but it's on the way. So lately, as of now, we've been getting hit with a lot of APT groups. 28 is one of them out of Russia, Cozy Bear. They've been hitting a lot of government places. So right now we're looking at their TTPs and mapping it out to like the modern attack framework and building our rules based off that, because a lot of trivial things like hashes and IPs, technology changes.
Right.
So attackers are smart. So now they're using like AWS or GCP or Azure to mask their identities. So when you go look up these trivial indicators of compromise, you're seeing Amazon. So you're thinking, oh, this is normal. And there's the back end of that, you got a whole C2 setup or something like that. So we're looking into the behaviors that they're doing and not the actual IPs and stuff that's easy to grab.
Right, yeah.
And they know we can see that.
Yeah.
But one thing they can never really change is their behavior. If you know that this type of group always does this behavior, they probably didn't get in the same way that they got in, but this behavior is the same way. So now you can link it. You already know what they're going to do next. So it's like a playbook. So I'm doing that pretty much all day. And then when we have incidents, then of course I'm a responder. We're getting on that, remediating that, making sure we're in contact with the customer, letting them know, okay, we have to do this, this, and this. And we go through the whole IR phase and making sure that we got everything locked down, cleaned out, do our lessons learned and stuff like that. So that's just another one of the situations. But every day is something new in my position, because attackers do something different every day. So it's just, what are we going to do today?
Yeah.
It keeps it interesting. Keeps the job very interesting.
Yeah. So do you work remotely, or are you going to office?
Definitely remote. I don't think I'm ever going back in office.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My goal, honestly, is to stack enough bread, invest enough money, so that when it does come time, if they ever say go back to work, I just be like, I just want to work. Just be done. I don't want to do that. I like being able to work from home. It's comfortable. It's easier for me to work from home. And I don't know. I do think that people trying to get into GovTech or into tech, maybe working from home isn't always the best, because you don't have that foundation yet.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a good position to be in if you can work remotely.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. I would say when you're trying to get into a new industry, you should be as flexible as possible, right? Like, people who aren't being flexible and they're like really rigid with exactly what they want and you have no experience, it's going to be like 10 times harder for you to get in, right? Yeah. So that's why I think I see I see all the time from people. They're like, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm applying, but I'm not hearing back, or I'm doing this and it's not working for me." You got to be flexible. You got to make sure everything's up to tip top shape, because when you're going out there and you're applying to these jobs and you're talking to these different recruiters, right? Everybody else, they might want it more than you, right? They might be more flexible than you. They might be putting in more work than you. And just like you said, right, they're probably being more consistent than you. So you gotta make sure that everything's all good to go. But I do want to talk about how you said you're trying to put yourself and your family in a position now where if they ever say like, look, you got to go back in office, you're gonna be like, no, I'm good. You know, I'm gonna do my own thing. So how are you doing that? Like, what are you doing with your money that you've been making all these years? Yeah,
absolutely. So as soon as I got out the military, I've never been a fan of like luxury items. Like that's just not my thing. I'm not gonna be in design and that. You gonna find me in a Nike Tech or some J's. I'm one of them type of dudes. Like no matter how much money I've ever made, I never changed. And once I got the money, I was like, okay, what do I do with the money? Because I'm the first one in my family to make this type of money. I haven't seen this type of money, so I don't know what people do with this money. So the first thing I did was do what I do best. And I went to the stock market, started buying shares, buying my LEAP contracts and stuff like that. Then as the money started increasing, I'm like, taxes. And I didn't know nothing about this stuff. I'm like, oh man, I don't know. So that's when I found out that real estate was the way to get the tax breaks. So I started doing that. Section 8, some aren't Section 8, and then of course still the stock market. But I try to buy assets before I buy my toys. So before I bought the Scat Pack, I went and got the 20 acres. You know what I'm saying? Before I went and got a chain or something, I put whatever amount of money back into the market. And a good way that I do it to balance it out is whatever I spend, I gotta match it to an asset, and that's how I keep my wealth growing.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it, man. That's the way to do it. But a lot of people, they aren't familiar with that type of like thinking, right? Because it's just like you said, you're the first person in your family that's made this type of money, so you haven't seen it before. So how did you get into that mindset of even like saying like, okay, before I buy the toys and the chains and stuff like that I like, I need to have an asset that's paying for it. Like, how'd you get into that mindset?
Man, trauma, childhood trauma. I don't. At the end of the day, I just don't want to go back to where I was at. You know, it takes sacrifices, and I don't blame anybody for thinking a certain way when they haven't reached a certain level, or they don't like when we spoke before, it's all about exposure. And I think the military did a really good job exposing me to different people, their different backgrounds. If I wouldn't have joined the military, I would have been still stuck in my neighborhood on my block. You know what I'm saying? I would have been talking to the same people that I see every day that just know just as much as me. So when you're around people just like you, and you got none of y'all are doing anything to better yourselves, there's no information coming in. But once you get that exposure and you start connecting to these different people that may not look like you, they give you information, and to them it's just another Tuesday. To you, that's life-changing information, and that's what it was for me. So definitely talking to people changed my mindset, and seeing, it's a different feeling when you see the money, but when you experience it, when you see somebody that probably have more than you, and they reach out like, hey, come on this trip with me or something like that, that's motivation. I'm not a hater. I'm motivated by that type of stuff. So if I see somebody, I'm like, man, B's crib, nice. You know what I'm saying? I need to get me something like this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hating. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna tap in with you. You know what I'm saying? You want to build with the people that's where you at. You don't want to compete with them, because 9 times 10 you're not going to win. You already don't have the resources. How are you going to compete with somebody that's at where you're trying to go, and they have more resources? So you know, just build with people, network. It's not a competition. Everybody can get it. It's more money. It's a lot of money out here for everybody.
Yeah, and then some people, it's funny, they're like, if you make so much money in GovTech, why are you trying to add and create competition? How can somebody who is brand new to an industry, who probably doesn't have any experience, compete with people who have 10, 15, 20 plus years of experience? It's two different playing fields, and two, there are new jobs coming to the market literally every single day. If you understand how this whole industry works, you understand that's a foundational fact. Like, really, it's a principle, right? Because every day the government, for people who don't know how it works, like every day the government, they need work done. And when they need work done, they have these large budgets and these large contracts where they're like, hey, who can do this work for us? Every single day a contract is being awarded to a new government contractor company, right? Like I'm talking huge $1 billion contracts. And with those contracts, if you don't have somebody working in that position, that contractor doesn't get paid. So they need somebody in that position. And because the way that the government is, they have standards, right? These other industries, they have standards, but not like ours, right?
Stringent.
It's not as stringent, and it's not like we're not going to bend on this rule. It's like you either have these qualifications or you're not working this job, period. So I think that people need to understand that there is no competition between somebody who is brand new coming into an industry, that there are plenty of opportunities, and somebody who's been in the industry working and has experience for 10 plus years.
I tell people all the time, if they, to get them to their goal faster and to get to the people that they aspire to make that type of money that those other people make, I tell them to go look at the job descriptions and choose like the top 5 or 10 skills that you see are current amongst all of them, because then you know, okay, this certain position or this certain job title that I'm looking for, all of them want these main skills. So go hit those main skills. You don't have to learn everything, just learn those and get good at those. And then you shouldn't, it's not cookie cutter anymore. You can actually take what you learn and go to different positions at that point. And with the contracting stuff, like you said, it's certain things you got to have. So based off whatever the contractual agreement is, just get those certifications off that, or whatever experience you need and get it like that. And then that's all you need.
Right.
It's simple.
And it's literally on the job descriptions. I tell people the same thing. It's reverse engineer it. The job description tells you everything you need to know. But where people fall short is they don't understand the GovTech lingo. So when they go on there and they don't see that it's asking for a specific cert, they're like, oh, okay, I can apply this job. But what they don't understand is when it says must be DOD IAT level 2 certified. Must be DOD IAT level 3 certified, or IAM level 3, or ISAE level 3, right? If they don't know what that means, they're thinking like, oh, I can qualify for this job. I got these basic requirements, but they don't understand that line at the bottom is like, oh, you must meet this baseline certification. They don't understand that. So I think that's another part where people fall short, is that there's people who I know, they tell me like, oh, I've been applying for these jobs for years, I never heard back. I'm like, it's probably because you don't have the certs. Like, it's a requirement. You gotta have them.
When people show these resume or these job descriptions that have like unicorn goals and stuff, unicorn like descriptions and stuff like that, I just say don't really, just still shoot your shot. If you got the requirements, or if you got some of the requirements, the main requirements that they say are non-negotiable, just shoot your shot. Just do it anyway. You never know what could happen. Like you said earlier, in these government contracts, they just need somebody to fill these positions sometimes. You may not even do
that job. Exactly.
So just, if you meet the requirements and go get it, don't be stubborn. I think the problem is people try to fight the industry versus what's said on social media. Like, social media is telling you like, don't worry about these certs, or don't worry about this, or don't worry about that. That job or that industry is telling you exactly what you need. These people on social media aren't hiring you.
Right.
Go listen to the job. If they tell you it's Security Plus, but social media is slamming Security Plus, go get Security Plus, because they're not paying you.
Right. And they aren't looking at these job descriptions. And then also a lot of the job seekers aren't looking at the job description.
They're not.
Because they're asking me. They're like, oh, well, I'm looking to get this. I'm looking to get that. I'm like, have you looked at any of the jobs yet? No. Well, I can't tell you because I'm not looking for that specific type of role. So, like, when I'm looking for roles, I look for roles for other people. I'm like, I'm not looking for that specific type of role. So, I'm not sure. And every single contract is different. So, you got to look at the job description. It's going to tell you exactly what they're looking for every time. So, I just want people to start taking a little bit more initiative and start looking at the job descriptions. Go on to clearancejobs.com. Look for the job title you're looking for, and then look at the job description. Every single company is telling you exactly what they're looking for. So go look at those, and you'll have a good idea of what you need to do.
Another thing people need to do also is see if they're in their base year or their option year too, because I've seen people get on contracts right before it ends. And you think you got it good, like think you got this job for a while, and your contract ends in 2 months, and you just like, what are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So read the fine lines on these contracts. Yeah, and not even just that too. Is like, you can ask them in your interviews. That's one of the things I tell people who, like, who know anything about my course, and what I tell people. I tell them, look, like, that's one of the questions you need to be asking. How many years is left on this contract? Because
You don't want to ever be, to me, if a contract is going into its last year, I'm out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if you're working a contract and they're going into their last year, you should start looking for other jobs. And that's the nature of the contracting world. Like, you're not supposed to just sit around and then the contract ended and now you like, oh, well, I don't have a job.
This ain't the regular industry where you just sitting there working this for years. It's called a contract for a reason.
Yes, yeah. So you're an employee, but you're working on a contract for this company, and you don't ever want to be in a position where you're just sitting there and you're like, dang, the contract ended and they didn't give me another job. It's so many opportunities. If you already have the experience in the certs, you need to be going to go apply. Just go out there and apply. You need to talk to your coworkers, because I can guarantee you your coworkers already have their exit plan. Like, hey, I'm moving over to this program. I'm going over to this program. I'm not sticking around here.
And then another thing that I think contractors need to look into, or like you said, some people, they go off to different contract employers, or some people go to different projects within a contract.
Yep.
So certain projects within a contract may have more time on it than other projects, and I see that happen a lot where they just bounce around. So having that good rapport with your actual contracting agency that you're signed with is a good thing too, because if you're valuable to them, they'll take care of you. If your contract is ending, they'll be like, hey, look, we know your contract ended in like 6 months, but we got this position we can bounce you over here to, and then here's the pay for this. We just need you to have this cert by this time.
Right.
And they really work with you if you got a good team.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another way to how you can get like 1099 roles, and then also how you can start getting your own government contracts too. If you get real tight with the government customer that you're working with, oh, you can slide in real easy. Yeah. People definitely got to go back and watch the episodes with her, Lane, because she talked about all of that.
She's a beast.
Yeah.
She is a beast.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So, dang, so we talked about that. So, like, I mean, now that, so what type of money are you making now? You got a lot of experience. You get SANS certification. Can you talk about those certifications?
SANS is a good institution to go to.
Yeah.
It's all hands-on. And that's been my focus over the last couple of years. As I've transitioned out of the military, there's no need for me to go get certain things. I want everything I learn now, I want to be able to touch the keyboard and do it as soon as I learn it. I don't want any theoretical type things. So SANS is perfect. I'm going through the cloud security program, and I'm actually about to complete my last cert for it's the cloud threat detection. And then after that, I'm going into cyber engineering. But that's all paid for by Uncle Sam. Thank you. Shout out to you. The army is lovely, but yeah, they pay for that. I don't think I would go there if the army wasn't paying for it, so.
Is it expensive? I don't know. I looked into like the tests and stuff, and I was just like, it wasn't what I was doing at that time. I was working on my master's.
Yeah, so I think 4 courses is about 23 or 24,000.
Wow.
But they give you all the books.
Yeah, but it's high quality. Like,
it's high quality.
Notch.
Everything you learn is current, and you can jump on the job and do it. It's not like they have you doing actual labs. You're actually loading up either Splunk or Elastic in their environment, and actually going through looking at these investigations and doing things how they would do it on the job.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the SANS institution. They are really good. So I'm gonna definitely do their cyber engineering graduate certificate, because I don't plan on doing like a PhD or anything.
Right.
After I got my master's, I was like, now I'm good off that.
Yeah. I'm not for the PhDs. And it's interesting. Like, a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I want to get a PhD to make more money, but it's like, it's not really what PhDs is for.
If you're not doing like research and development, or you don't plan on like teaching it, I don't see any value in it. But I also haven't done my own research deep enough to know. So if there is something out there why somebody should get a PhD, if you can enlighten me, please let me know. But
yeah.
I don't want to waste my benefits on that. I'd rather just go get more technical things that I can actually apply to the job, because I know if I was sitting in that hiring manager seat, I don't care what you got on your paper. If I ask you this question and you give it to me like it's a textbook answer, I want to know how you would handle it on the job type thing. So I think if you do want to get the most out of these certifications, go for the practical certifications.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why, like, for people who are trying to get into the field, that's why, like, it's not too many like hands-on certifications when you're like entry level, but that's why I like the Red Hat certified system administrator cert.
That's a good one.
All hands-on, like no multiple choice. Like literally, it's what can you do on a keyboard? Can you do these different Red Hat system administrator tasks? And that's it, like step by step. And if you can do them, you pass. And if you can't do them, you don't pass.
You don't pass. And that's how I think that's how it should be. For people that try to go into like a SOC analyst or security analyst, I tell them to go do the blue team level 1 and 2 because it's hands on. Yeah. And if you do government, get security plus first, and then go do blue team level 1 and level 2. Yep. If you want to do penetration testing, I tell people to go get the EJPT, and that's like an entry level. Or you can go to.
I know they have the OSCP.
The OSCP too. They do
hard.
have that, but that's a beast.
I don't know too many people who pass it. I only know.
Yeah, I think I know one person. Yeah, just one person, and I don't even know them like that. It's just like through passing type thing. But that's a beast of an exam. But definitely any type of hands-on they can do, I would say do it. Of course, when you get higher than your CISP and your CISM and stuff like that, those are some crazy exams too. Although I did hear CISM is easier than CISP.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. My cousin like I just want to get the CISM. I'm like, all right, man. Yeah. They're good certs. I mean, it'll hit you like you'll hit the right levels for the DoD 8570 for sure. Yeah. But I seen this one guy. He said he passed the CISSP in 2 weeks. I was like, wow, I don't know how he did that.
He brilliant because I failed it the first time. I failed my system the first time. Then I passed it the second time. It took me 2 weeks to study the second time, but it's because I had been studying that whole time. The first time. So if you can pass that exam, never let that expire. I'm never letting mine expire. I don't care if I stop working in cybersecurity. I'm never letting it expire. It's gonna stay. So tough, it's gonna stay current.
Yeah. That's honestly the CISSP is like literally like the only other certification I want to get. That's what I was studying before I went into my master's, and that's where I messed up at. I should have just finished it. I should have kept studying, passed that, then started a master's. Instead, I was like, nah, let me start my master's. I'll get a CISSP later.
Nobody asked me about my degrees.
Yeah.
If I'm applying to a contracting company, they ask me about my certifications. And then if they don't have the certification, then they ask me how it was. But they never verify my degrees or nothing like that. So it goes to show what holds a little bit more weight on the government side. So I think people should definitely look into that.
So basically, since we talked about pretty much like everything you've done in your career so far, what type of challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Man, I will say I never had like imposter syndrome. That was a challenge I see a lot of people face nowadays that I don't think I ever faced because I knew the type of work I put in behind the scenes. So when it was time to show up and show out, I felt confident enough for that. I think my hardest obstacles was actually pulling all my skill sets together. So over my 8 years in the military, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, so I did a little bit of everything, and that's how I found out what I wanted to do. But I was in a unique position because I could experiment. I was already in the Army. I was gonna get paid the same regardless, and I had stability, so I was able to let me dabble over here and dabble over there. But I would say once I got to the end of my contract, I had so many different skills, I didn't know how to concentrate it into a position. And I ran into this guy named Marcus Bowie, Cyber Reverend on Twitter. And he had this course, this boot camp called the SOC Experience. And so basically it took all my skills that I had and brought it together. And ever since then, I think that's what put me on my upward trajectory, just being able to tie skills together. And that's why I really take it easy on the people that's getting into tech now that's have probably like shiny object syndrome, because I was once in that position, and I try not to forget where I came from. So you actually just find somebody who can guide you in the right direction, so you don't have to go through obstacles of like, okay, what do I need to learn? How do I learn it? Where do I Where do I have to go to find this information? How long is this going to take me? Type thing. So if you concentrate your skills, you won't have to face the obstacle of not knowing what you have to do or where to go. And always network with people that's in a position to teach you or have been where you're trying to go, so that they can push all that stuff to the side. Be like, look, I know you want to do this, and I did that, but that was wrong. This is the way to go. You know what I'm saying? So I do that a lot with a lot of people who come to me for advice, because I tell them now, like, what took me 8 to 10 years to get to should take you 2 to 5 years at this point in time. because it's too many resources out. It's too many videos out. It's too much stuff out here for people nowadays. But I think they just want to give it to them. But that's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work like that.
Yeah. I want to talk about that just a little bit, like, cause you every day online you talk about don't get out work, don't get out hustle, like put in the work. So like, how should people be putting in the work? What do they need to do to show up, to really put in the work? Not that fluff. Like, what do they need to be doing?
Me personally, when I say that, I really mean that. Even if I give information, like you can take all the information you get on this interview, they can take whatever they want to, but still know at the end of the day, I'm your competition, and I know you're my competition. So I'm gonna always try to be one step ahead of you, because when it comes to this hiring manager, only one of us is getting chosen. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So this is what it means by not getting out work, because you're not gonna take food off my table. You know what I'm saying? I got people I provide for. So it's always having your goals first and foremost in your mind, and remembering why you're doing it, and don't get lost on this path, because it's a long journey. And actually putting in the work. Don't try to make it look good for the internet. A lot of people make it look good for the internet. Yeah. It's not about what look good on the internet. It's how you really living. And people get that confused and mixed up. Like, we can take pictures all day, and you can say you doing this and doing that, but them results gonna show. 5 to 10 years, we're gonna see who was really working and who wasn't working, because time exposes everything. Yep. So I tell people, like, if you gonna really say that and quote that, every day you gotta go at it. You gotta be on it, because there are people out here that's gunning for your position as we speak. There's people that are coming from areas or places that don't have the opportunity that you have, and they'll kill for that position right now. And that's literally what they're doing. They're studying, learning everything. So while you're taking this stuff for granted, you know what I'm saying, you shouldn't. You know, we're our ancestors' wildest dreams. You know what I'm saying? We've been put in a unique position to do things that our ancestors or people that are in less fortunate situations can't do. So why not take advantage of that? You know what I'm saying? And also be authentic to yourself, and so that people that come from those areas that you come from, they know that they can be there too. And I try to let everybody know that, like, no matter how you talk, what image you carry, what you look like, if you got it, you got it. If you don't, you don't. You just got to put the work in regardless. At the end of the day, that's what matters to me, is who's going to really put in the work. I say that a lot. Don't come trying to call me, talk all day. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. When I post this stuff on the internet, I'm for real. Like, I'm really working. Like, don't call me and try to hold these conversations. And you shouldn't want to hold these conversations with me. Because if you're trying to get to where I'm at and you see me still working, why you chilling? What you doing that for? You gotta get up and go do something. You know what I'm saying? You want the Scat Pack, you want the Hellcat, you gotta go work for that. You know what I'm saying? you can't, you know, you can't be chilling to get that. You can't do that. So tell people like that, don't get out work at the end of the day. Yeah,
and I'm like, really put in those hours. Like, put in those hours. Like, not just, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna study 1 hour a week.
I like to pull my old Facebook posts, because I went off Facebook for like 10 years. And I would tap in and put like, don't get out work, something like that. So I just got back on Facebook earlier this year, and I would see posts from like 10 years ago saying don't get out work. And I would screenshot it and post it and show people, like, this just didn't come into fruition these last couple of years. I've been like this. Yeah. Out of 8 years in the military, I went out probably like 3 or 4 times. I wasn't out there partying. I was studying every day, and the tweets, you could check them timestamps. I was up at 3 in the morning studying. I was the one standing home at home on the weekends and stuff like that. People call it lame, call it what you want, but the same people that was out there partying and stuff like that and didn't, you know, want to get to the work, they asking me how I got to where I'm at. They asking me for advice now. So it's that delayed gratification mindset you got to have. Like, you can ball for the day, you can ball forever. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. See, but that's where a lot of people, they rather just ball for a day instead of balling forever.
They look good. You can flex all day. We talking longevity around here, consistency. You know what I'm saying? We not doing that. One thing I never want to be is a has-been. That's one thing. So I'm gonna continuously learn and not get out work. Yeah. And I guess everybody who want to use that quote, you better stand on it.
Right.
Stand on it.
Right. Look, people don't know how that grind is. Oh, no. Working nonstop, and you are not going anywhere. Like, they don't know about that grind.
It was harder back then than it is now.
Yep.
Like, I'm pretty sure, like, now when you go learn something or study something, it's way easier because it's more out there, or you have that foundation now. Back then, you had to work 10 times harder for that information.
Yep. And so people weren't just laying it all out there.
They weren't.
They were
not laying it out there. You can't just go on YouTube and, oh, how do I learn this? It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So I agree. Don't get out work. Put in the work every day. Like you want to get into tech, GovTech, whatever. You need to minimum be studying an hour a day. And then even once you do get into your position, if you feel like I'm not making the money I want to make, or I need to still get these 2-3 certifications, I need to do more to get to where I want to be at. You got to put in the work to do it.
And I feel like another thing is like people get into these jobs and then they steer away from like their team members and their supervisors and stuff like that. No, go interact with them. That was my issue initially coming out, because I've always been like an antisocial type individual. I always felt like I don't need nobody. I get it on my own. Man, you can't do that. I had to break that mentality real quick. So network with your team members and your supervisors. Be like, hey, how'd you do that? Because you don't know how he did that. Go learn that. And if you feel like you got some gaps in your knowledge or your skill set, talk to your supervisor. Your supervisor's watching you. They know what you need to work on. Go ask them like, hey, where do you think I can sharpen up my skills or something like that? They're going to tell you what they need, because you're a reflection of them. And yeah, if you're not pulling your weight, they're looking to replace you. So they know what needs to be done. Yeah. It's always best to go to your supervisor before they come to you. Always.
Yeah, that's a bar in itself. That's a bar in itself. Yeah, don't be one of those people that's like always trying to like avoid your team and avoid your supervisor. Because one, it kind of looks sketchy anyway. It's like, why you don't ever want to talk to me? Like,
real sketchy.
Yeah, you should have that open line of communication with your supervisor, your team, even other people around in the organization as well. You want to be networking. So you want to make sure you're networking within your company that you work for, and definitely with the customer. Like, make sure y'all are good always. You don't ever want to not be on your customer's good side. So
because one thing about that is, if you're on your customer's good side and they may not like the people you work with, but they like you, your customer's going to look out sometimes. They'll be like, you know what? We probably might be getting rid of them, but we're going to pull you onto this. We're going to have these people reach out to you. Make sure you pick up that phone when they call you, or, we got some internal spot for you. You want to do this? Come on over here. So definitely take care of the customer. Don't treat your job like a 9-to-5. If you really want to be in it, work it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people, they just do it for a 9-to-5, but when the customers see that you care, man, they'll take care of you. They'll take care of you. Prime example, I helped an agency a couple years back, and the Govy on the team, he was like, man, we have. So let me start by this. Sometimes a contract, you may have a contract for a certain thing, but there may be another company working another portion of the contract.
That's a lot of contracts.
Yeah,
they split away. A whole bunch of contractors on one certification.
Things on
one
same
contract.
Same thing. So sometimes you may get a position and you may do a job that outshines the other contractors. So when people see that, they're like, man, this person isn't even on this portion of the project, and they're doing the job better than them, and they're handling their own job. We gonna look out for him. We gonna throw him some free candy or something. They may send you some free training, you know what I'm saying, or give you some free vouchers or something. So always take care of the customer. That's what you're there for. You know what I'm saying? You gotta care about your job. It's a certain pride you carry, a certain sense of pride you gotta carry about your job. I don't want to turn in nothing that isn't substantial to the customer, because then they're gonna look at it like, you know what I'm saying, and then I don't want to feel like that.
Yeah,
I want to feel like the big dog.
Yeah,
the big dog.
definitely. So since you've been working in GovTech, and you have a vast amount of experience, and you're making great money now, how has working in tech changed your life? Like, what has it done for you and your family?
Man, the first thing is, man, thank God for the opportunity and just putting it in my path. But being able to I got 4 little sisters and my mom, and they mean the world to me. So being able to make sure that they have everything they need is very important to me. That means a lot to me. And my wife, I want anything for her. Like, it's anything she want, I want to be able to provide and do that. So that's sort of tech changed my life for the better. Like, I can take a trip or two, you know what I'm saying? I can my little sister wants something, I can go buy that for her. I can help her go through school or something like that, or things that I want to do. I don't have to wait, I can just go do it. And so it's a very fortunate situation to be in, and I appreciate it so much. And I try to tell everybody, I'm biased. I tell everybody to go do tech. You do that? Nah, go do tech, man. Just do that.
Yeah.
But I understand everybody has their own path, but this definitely changed my life for the better. I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. There's times I drop a few G tears in the shower, man. I be in the shower crying a little bit, like, man, I can't believe I made it this far.
No,
so,
I mean it's crazy. It's crazy. That's why I'm biased. I tell everybody do GovTech. This industry changed my life, my family life, my friends' life. Like, I'm from the DMV. I've seen how many people's lives this industry has changed. So I'm always grateful, and I always want people to, you want some stability. You want to make sure you're good, good, your family good. You can put your friends on too. This is where you need to come to.
Yep, most definitely. Like, it's a different level of stability in this career field, and it's so many ways you can pivot. It's like I don't like to say anything is recession proof, but if I was to say something that's very close or look like it, I would say it would be this. I would definitely say it would be this, because
I haven't ever seen this industry hit by a recession ever.
So
if the government is running and working in tech for the government is mission critical, you're going to be working.
And another thing about that, I think it was last year there was a possible shutdown, and I know a few contractors were scared that they wouldn't get paid. They got paid. You still gonna get paid.
Contractors always get paid. That's why I don't know why people are the only people who should be worried about shutdowns for the most part, especially if when we're going to stay specific to GovTech. Only people who should be worried are the federal government employees, because when the federal government shuts down, they don't work, but they'll come back to work and then they give them back pay.
Yeah. See,
so
I don't. Yeah, I know. Certain companies keep a certain pot of money, and that's smart. They keep a pot of money stored away just in case something like that happens. So even if something does go down, if it ever goes down, then there's money there for those employees. So definitely check the benefits to your contractor agencies that you go to, because there's certain things that you get. Some may give you like a cell phone or something. Some may pay for your car note. There's different things. You just don't know if you don't ask.
Right.
I'm one of them people that didn't know, and I didn't ask. So finding out later on, like, dang, you got that?
Yeah.
Like, man, I ain't get that, man. Like, I got to hit them back up.
Yeah.
So, definitely look at the different benefits that comes with the contracting positions that you get.
Yeah, definitely. So I always like to ask everybody this question, right? So what's one piece of advice that you can give to people who want to be in your position where you are today?
Man, block out the noise. You gotta block out the noise. One thing about me, I always bet the house on myself. I never let anyone steer my position and stance on anything. And you really have to put the work in. Like, you gotta practice what you preach, and it's gonna take time. It's gonna take hours. You're gonna take L's. So not getting out work doesn't mean you're not gonna take an L. You're gonna take an L. It's how you bounce back and how you keep going after you take that to the chin. And I tell a lot of people, like, it's inevitable. Just get your chin prepped up. You make sure you look good when you take that hit, because it's coming.
Yeah.
But just take it head on, and that's how you become stronger. So the next time you come into obstacles, it's not as hard. But just always work hard and have a purpose and do everything with intention. Just don't be out here just free balling all your tasks. Like, do it with some intention. Know why you're doing it and what results it's going to give you. Because I feel like a lot of people nowadays do things without knowing what they're going to get from it, and they just get a rush from doing whatever they're doing. So pay attention, stay consistent, stay determined, never get out work. Really, that's all it is to it.
Hey,
that's all it is.
That's the key thing. Like, as long as you're consistent and you're always putting in the work, you cannot lose, right? The people who always win are the ones who have the best work ethic, right? What do they always say? Even talent gets outworked.
Yep.
So just because you got talent doesn't mean you're going to win, right? It's the people who are always showing up every single day, being consistent, putting in the work. And it applies to your career, and it applies to everywhere in life. So, you want to be successful, you just got to put in the work every single day. That's it.
And you got to do the things that people don't want to do. That's one thing I used to take on the task that nobody wanted to do.
Facts.
But that's how I got the skills that I got and got the networks that I got, is by doing the things that people didn't want to do. And you absolutely, sometimes you're not going to have those tasks you want to do. But once you do it, you get a certain respect from others, and they know that they can rely on you. That's a different type of thing to carry in your position. Is people can rely on you. They know you can do your work. They know you do it effectively, and they know you're happy doing it.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's when your employers start treating you real good.
Definitely. All right, Jay. So this was a great episode. I'm so glad that you came here to come by with me. Come on here. I know you're super low key. I try to get the low key people out. I'm doing a good job to get all the low key people out. There's a few more y'all know who you are. You need to come on here. But Jay, where can they find you at? If you want them to find you, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? Learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I finally got all my social media to the same Instagram name and Twitter name, because I be changing it, but it's Big Dog J, just BDAWGJAY. You can find me on, that's all my socials. I'm not gonna lie, it's not always tech, but it's good content. It's good content. You're gonna have fun looking at my story.
Dope. So make sure y'all go follow Jay, and that wraps up this episode of Day in My Tech Life. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one.